All right. Hi, everybody. We're back. This time, we're looking at John Donne's poem, A Valediction Forbidding Mourning. And we're going to do the same thing we've done before. We're going to read the whole poem all the way through. Then we're going to go through and take it stanza by stanza, break it down, talk about what it means, talk about vocabulary you might not understand, and then talk about it as a whole. Okay? So, go ahead and open up your PDF and let's get reading. A Valediction Forbidding Mourning by John Donne. As virtuous men pass mildly away and whisper to their souls to go, whilst some of their sad friends do say the breath goes now, and some say no. So let us melt and make no noise, no tear floods nor sigh tempests move, 'twere profanation of our joys to tell the laity our love. Moving of the earth brings harms and fears, men reckon what it did and what it meant, but trepidation of the spheres, though greater far, is innocent. Dull sublunary lovers' love, whose soul is sense, cannot admit absence, because it doth remove those things which elemented it. But we, by a love so much refined that ourselves know not what it is, interassured of the mind, careless of eyes, lips, hands to miss. Our two souls, therefore, which are one, though I must go, endure not yet a breach, but an expansion, like gold to airy thinness beat. If they be two, they are two so as stiff twin compasses are two. Thy soul, the fixed foot, makes no show to move, but doth, if the other do. And though it at the centre sit, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it, and grows erect as that comes home. So wilt thou be to me, who must, like the other foot, obliquely run. Thy firmness makes my circle just, and makes me end where I begun. Okay, so we have another poem by John Donne that is about lovers having to part and one of them promising to come back home. Okay? But unlike the other one, which was fairly straightforward, this one is a little bit more complicated. And unlike the last one, Song, where basically all of your conceits or comparisons were circles, right? It was, I'm leaving, but I'm coming back. I'm leaving, but I'm coming back. These are a little more complex. This is a slightly more sophisticated poem. Okay, so let's go through bit by bit, starting with the title. A Valediction Forbidding Mourning. Okay, a valediction is like a lecture, kind of, or an essay. And forbidding, so we're saying no, to mourning. And mourning, when it's spelled this way, is like the deep sadness when someone is leaving or someone has died. Usually mourning is used for death, but it could be like a loss. And that feeling of loss or death takes us right into the first stanza, because he's talking specifically about death, which is exactly what he compared going away to in the previous poem, right? So he starts with, as virtuous men pass mildly away and whisper to their souls to go. So good men, when they die like quietly, they die in their beds, they just sort of slip away. Whilst some of their sad friends do say the breath goes now, and some say no. Like this man, this good man dying in his bed, is dying so quietly they can't quite tell when he's gone. Like some people are like, oh, that's his last breath, and other people are like, no, I think he's still breathing. Like, but it's his loved ones gathered around his bedside, right? It's quiet, it's peaceful. You know, it's sad, but they're not weeping and wailing and carrying on and having a fuss, right? It's calm, it's restful. And by starting that stanza with the word as, we know that he's setting up a comparison. So as this, And then the next stanza starts with so that. And that's a comparison structure. As this, so that. Like as it was, so it shall be. Okay? So the first part of this is that peaceful death scene where someone just kind of slips quietly away in the company of their loved ones after a good long life. He's saying, just like that, so let us melt and make no noise, no tear floods, nor so side tempests move. So we've got to leave, we've got to separate. So it sounds like, again, maybe he's going on a journey or he's traveling and he's leaving his loved one behind, but he's saying, let's not have conflama drama lama, let's not have tears and shouting and, carrying on and floods of crying. No. Let's have it be quiet and peaceful and it can be sad, but we're just going to go, relaxed. And then he adds, 'twere profanation of our joys to tell the laity our love. Now this is some interesting word choice, right? To be profane is to disrespect a religion, to disrespect God or disrespect something religious. And in this case, their joy as a couple is a religion. Like it's something that they care about and respect, but also kind of protect. And he's like, it's disrespectful of our love to carry on loudly so we become everybody else's business. And the laity there, in a religion, usually you have like the priests or the deacons or, the religious ordained people who preach. And then you have everybody else, right? And everybody else who comes to the religion, to the church, is the laity. And then the religious priests or preachers, they're like the clergy, right? So in their religion of their love, the two of these people together, they're the clergy. And everybody else is the laity. And it's disrespectful to their love and how important it is and how sacred it is to make it everybody else's business. You see? So he's using, remember we talked about this last time, he's a very religious person. He's a very Christian person. And he's using his ideas of Christianity and the church and joining that up with like their love being a sacred bond. Okay. Now, moving into the third stanza. Moving of the earth brings harms and fears. Men reckon what it did and what it meant. So he's talking about earthquakes here. When we have earthquakes, people are scared, right? And it hurts things, it breaks stuff. And people go around going, well, what did that mean? Like, especially before they understood about plate tectonics, right? People tended to go like, oh, well, the earth is moving, God must be mad at us, or what did we do? And we still see kind of some of that today, right? So he's like, when there's earthquakes, people get scared, people want to know why. But trepidation of the spheres, though greater far, is innocent. So when the stars move, or the planets move, the spheres here are the planets, when they move, we don't ask why. We don't get scared, even though a whole planet moving is way more movement than just an earthquake. Nobody goes like, oh my gosh, Jupiter has moved across the sky. What does it mean? Right? So that's innocent. So again, he's establishing like a different level, right? Everybody else is here. They're the laity. We are the holy people in our religion, which is our relationship. Everybody else is worried about earth movement. Everybody else is like earthquakes. We're like planets. So we are above them. Literally, figuratively, in importance, in holiness, like our love, our relationship together is so much better and more important than everybody else's nonsense. And then he compounds that with this next stanza. Dull, sublunary lovers love. Okay, that's a great insult, and I'll tell you why in a second. whose soul is sense, cannot admit absence, because it doth remove those things which elemented it. Okay, so when he says sense here, he literally means like the five senses, like touch, taste, sound, sight, smell. Okay. And dull, as in boring, sublunary, sub meaning below, lunar meaning the moon, right? Dull sublunary lovers. So these boring people who were just like under the moon, being all lovey-dovey with each other, cannot admit absence. So their relationship can't stand for them to be apart. Why? Because it doth remove those things which elemented it. Like their relationship, these boring sublunary lovers, these lovers on earth, they're so boring, and their relationship is all about being touchy-feely. Like literally. Like they need to see each other, hear each other, hold each other, taste each other, right? They need to all do that. And their relationship can't handle being apart because the only thing that matters to them is physicality. Now, I bet you know people like this, right? If they're not holding hands and being all kissy face, they can't stand it, right? And they can't be apart because their whole relationship is physical. He's calling them dull sublunary lovers, below the moon. But remember, he and his lover, right? They're like the planets. They're up here. We're better than these dull sublunary lovers. So he sets up that contrast again. He says, but we, by a love so much refined that ourselves know not what it is, interassured of the mind, careless eyes, lips, hands to miss. Our love is so much refined, so much better, so much more important, so much more special, much more holy than those dull sublunary lovers. And we're up here, you know? We're like just above all of that. And our love is real love because it's of the mind and the soul. And we're attached like with our minds and our souls. And so we don't need all that hugging and kissing and everything else. Like, that doesn't matter to us because we have a deeper, stronger connection. Okay. And then he's going to bring these ideas together. Our two souls, therefore, which are one, right? Flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. Remember we talked about being like deeply connected souls in the last poem? He's coming back to that idea. Our two souls, therefore, which are one, though I must go, endure not yet a breach, but an expansion, like gold to airy thinness beat. Okay, so our soul, which we share, because our two souls are one soul, I have to go, but our soul isn't going to crack. There's not going to be a break in our souls as I have to go. What's going to happen is our souls are just going to expand and get bigger, thinner, but bigger, and it'll cover the distance between us. Okay? And he uses the simile, right, because he uses like, gold. Now, gold, I'll use my ring as an example. Okay. Do you guys see how it's thinner on one side? Okay. Like it's the same width all the way around, but on one side it's thinner and then it's thicker over here. Okay, that's because this had to be sized for me, and gold is soft, right? So they heat it up and they stretch it. And they stretch and it gets thinner on one side, right? And you could stretch this even bigger. You would narrow out those sides, you'd narrow out those sides, right? Okay, so because gold is soft and it stretches, you can beat it, you know, with a hammer and make it like a thin gold sheet. And you've seen some really thin gold sheets. Like if you ever watch those cooking shows and they like put gold leaf, or if you watch any furniture restoration and they put on gold leaf, okay, that's actual gold. It's just been spread super thin. So he's like, our souls are gold, are like made of gold, and we're going to spread it across the distance between us. It's not going to rip, it's not going to tear. We're just going to spread our souls, okay? And then he's like, okay, if they be two, if our soul is two, They're two so as the stiff twin compasses are two. All right. Do you remember back in math class when you used to have to draw circles and you used a compass? And it's like this, right? It's attached at the top, and one side has a pointy part and one side has a pencil attached. And the pointy part goes on the paper and it stays in the middle, and then the part with the pencil attached, like, I'm doing a bad example here, but basically like it goes around and you make a circle with it, okay? And it moves, but this middle one doesn't. Like it might lean, but the point of it stays on the paper so that you can make a circle, right? He's comparing that kind of compass to their soul, right? And he says, thy soul, the fixed foot, so the one that doesn't move, makes no show to move, but doth if the other do. So if this foot moves way out here, you're leaning after it, right? But you're not really moving yourself. You're not going anywhere. You're staying in one place, right? Okay. And though it in the center sit, this is your soul, the fixed point of the compass, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it and grows erect as that comes home. So here's our compass, right? Here's the part with the pencil on it. It's leaning way out, and see my one in the middle? It's leaning with it. And as this one comes home as well, right? It didn't move, the point didn't move, but it leaned and moved. Okay, so that's what he's like, you're going to stay home. I'm going to have to go do the thing I got to do. But we're still attached. Our souls might be divided, but a compass is still attached at the top, right? It's not two separate pieces. It's just two legs of the same thing. So we're still attached. And you're going to react to me and I'm going to react to you. So such wilt thou be to me, who must like the other foot obliquely run. Thy firmness makes my circle just and makes me end where I begun. So because you stay home, you're my center. You're what keeps me grounded. You're what helps me make good decisions. And just there is like both good and exact and like a good round circle, but also like a justice, like holy and true and honest. So because our souls are connected and because you're my grounding person, you keep me honest. Okay? Does this make more sense now? And he's going to come back to his lover because it always brings him home. It makes him end where he began. All right, we're going to read it through one more time now that you have a really good feel for it and you know what it means. And I want you to think of the feelings involved here, okay? As virtuous men pass mildly away and whisper to their souls to go, whilst some of their sad friends do say the breath goes now, and some say no. So let us melt and make no noise, no tear floods nor sigh tempests move. 'Twere profanation of our joys to tell the laity our love. Moving of the earth brings harms and fears. Men reckon what it did and what it meant. But trepidation of the spheres, though greater far, is innocent. Dull, sublunary lovers' love, whose soul is sense, cannot admit absence, because it doth remove those things which elemented it. But we, by a love so much refined that we ourselves know not what it is, interassured of the mind, careless eyes, lips, and hands to miss. Our two souls, therefore, which are one, though I must go, endure not yet a breach, but an expansion, like gold to airy thinness beat. If they be two, they are two so as stiff twin compasses are two. Thy soul, the fixed foot, makes no show to move, but doth if the other do. And though it in the center sit, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it and grows erect as that comes home. Such wilt thou be to me, who must like the other foot obliquely run. Thy firmness makes my circle just and makes me end where I begun. All right. Oh, isn't he good? He's just good. Okay, so we have a similar theme as before, right? The idea of having to go and having to comfort your lover and promising to come home. But this is a more sophisticated way of looking at that and a more complex way. with more complex imagery, right? And less kind of emotional and more grounded. Like, this is obviously a very long-lasting relationship. All right, so you're going to go into Schoology. You're going to do your question, which one of the choices I think is about dull sublunary lovers. And I will see you back here next time for Meditation 17. Until then, bye everybody.